The sickening truth about royal kings and queens' uncontrollable love for pleasure. From sharing their beds with the bodies of saints to kissing their bed linen to test for poison, monarchs of the past maintained some truly bizarre sexual habits. Here in this video, some of the strangest practices of royals throughout history are revealed. You'll be amazed to find out queens were not less than kings. We learn about civil wars, historical occurrences, discoveries, and inventions in the majority of our history studies. The sexual tastes and sexual lifestyles of those who reigned over our predecessors are never actually revealed to us. Being fascinated by history, and after doing some research, here's a list of the 7 horniest kings and queens in history. You'll be shocked when you see their uncontrollable love for pleasure. Did the monarch's sexual cravings affect their royal status? Obviously, yes. In fact, there were several factors that may cause a king's sexual life to be troublesome. There was a moral component to the issue. Churchmen were particularly outspoken opponents of royal adultery, since lust was considered a fatal sin. However, there were also issues of pragmatism. Being under the control of a woman like that could also call into question the king's manhood. How could Edward III be a respectable man if his sexual cravings were in control of him? Self-control was a key component of medieval masculinity, and a king's capacity to govern his body was seen as an indication of his capacity to rule the body politic. Since the balance of physiological fluids, including semen, were regarded to be important for the health of the male body, the relationship was more than simply symbolic. Here are listed the most sex-crazed royals in history, the horniest kings and queens in history. Caligula, the Emperor of Rome, 37 to 41 AD. Since Caligula is such a well-known and persistent sensualist, Saturday Night Live made fun of him in the Tales of Sober Caligula a few years ago. In front of his senators' wives, Caligula was infamous for seducing them. He used to bring prostitutes home and have relationships with pantomime actors. In addition to having affairs with his sisters in the past, he also married 4 women. It's not difficult to think that Caligula's own guards murdered him after just 5 years in power because they were aggressive and deranged individuals. The Emperor of Rome supposedly engaged in incest with his 3 sisters. Yeah, you heard it right, his sisters. Some people even said that he got one of his sisters, Drusilla, pregnant and tore the child out of her womb. He did have an odd affinity for Drusilla and the other sisters, despite the fact that it is known that this information is entirely fictitious. Caligula made Drusilla a goddess after her death, which was incredibly unusual even at the time. Henry I, King of England, 1100 to 1135. Henry I of England, the monarch with the most offspring outside of marriage, more than 20. He is the undisputed royal record holder for fathering illegitimate offspring, according to the New York Times. Adeliza of Louvain and Matilda of Scotland were 2 of Henry's spouses. With Matilda, he had 2 children, but not with Adeliza. But that's not all. He had a sizable family of illegitimate offspring as a result of his numerous relationships with some fertile women. From his teenage years till his death, he was a constant whore. Sex was his sole pastime. The connections between Henry's many mistresses, who came from all origins, seem to have been pretty out in the open. The evidence to support the notion that he selected some of his noble mistresses for political reasons is scant. Marie of Romania, Queen of Romania, 1914 to 1927. Queens were not less than kings. Marie was in control of state matters, even though her husband, Ferdinand I, the king, appeared to be in command of the realm. Marie was a well-known person in the world, and like other well-known people at her era, she was not a supporter of monogamy. Prince Barbu Sturby was her favorite mister out of the numerous she had. Numerous historians concur that Sturby was Mercia's biological father. In addition, Marie is rumored to have had relationships with Canadian explorer Joe Boyle, Lieutenant Zizi Cantacuzene, and her newspaperman Waldorf Astor. Isn't it clear that she had more than one kind? Henry VIII, King of England, 1509 to 1547. The most well-liked womanizer of them all, Henry established a certain pattern very early on. Step 1. Find a wife. Step 2. When she's unable to bear a male heir, remove her. Step 3. Obtain a side piece. Step 4. Get rid of the wife by divorcing her or having her murdered. Step 5. Wed your mistress. Step 6. Retrace your steps back to step 1. Henry used to frequently invite prostitutes over in addition to his 6 wives. He even had sex with Marie Boleyn, the sister of his second wife. He's said to have fathered 2 of her children as well. Kelly Hart, a historian, asserts that Henry had at least 12 more women outside of his wife. Henry IV and Margaret of France, King and Queen of France, 1589 to 1599. Throughout their marriage, neither Henry nor Margaret had an easy time dealing with the whole fidelity issue. Henry was known as the Green Gallant because he was well liked by women. He had a reputation for leaving his soldiers to move in with one of his numerous lovers, and gonorrhea came close to killing him. He divorced Margaret, the mother of his unborn children, in order to wed Marie de Medici, a member of the illustrious and prosperous Florentine family. Margaret, however, was not a nun. The most well-known of her several relationships was with Joseph Boniface de la Mole, who was eventually tortured and killed for conspiring against the king. Well, do you think it would be fair to say that she was renowned for her licentiousness? Louis XIV, King of France, 1638 to 1715. Gretchen Wieners and the Sun King both had stunning hair that was loaded with mysteries. When Louis XIV was a teenager, Catherine Henrietta Bellier started his conquest-filled career by effectively teaching him about the business cycle, if you know what I mean. He had more children with this magnificently titled woman after his marriage to Queen Marie Theresa, with whom he had 6 children, a daughter after his marriage to Claude Divine de l'Isle, and 7 children after his marriage to Marquise de Montespan, and those were just new mums. Along with having a secret wife in Madame de Maintenon, he also had numerous other affairs. King Edward VII, King of England, 1901 to 1910. Edward VII was known by many monikers that accurately described him. His nickname Bertie was an abbreviation of his first name Albert. Due to his chubby stomach, he was also known as Tum Tum. However, due to his innumerable mistresses and various sexual connections, he was best known as Edward the Caresser and Dirty Bertie. Winston Churchill's mother, the stunning Jenny Jerome, later known as Lady Randolph Churchill, was one of his lovers. Unexpectedly, he also had a mistress named Alice Keppel, who was Camilla Parker Bowles' great-grandmother, Camilla being the wife of King Charles III, the current King of England. When having sex, Edward employed a unique sex gadget he named the sex chair. According to legend, Edward lost his virginity at the age of 19, and from that point until his death 50 years later, he had intercourse with at least 4 women every week. According to calculations made by historians, he may have had affairs with somewhere between 15 and 18,000 women during his lifetime. That's a huge score. Well, is it a bunch of rumors? A monarch required frequent sex to be healthy, but too much would make him psychologically and physically unsound and unsuitable to reign. In the end, common misperceptions of the royal sex lives were murky and highly affected by politics both in the Middle Ages and now. Promiscuity may be overlooked or even embraced by respected leaders, but it becomes a severe failure and a symptom of a fundamental character problem in unpopular leaders. Stories about the extramarital affairs of kings and politicians, whether they're true or not, may have a significant impact on how we view our rulers, both ancient and modern. While some of these rumors may be real, it is crucial to keep in mind that most of what we believe to be true is based on rumors. Additionally, it's possible that they allowed their own biases to interfere with reality. It's difficult to tell reality from fiction when there's so much discussion and so little evidence. Is it appropriate to describe them so? Although history is significant, it may also be skewed or false. Even if the rumors are more entertaining, there are instances when we need to look a bit more to get the truth. This ends our history video for today. What are your thoughts on these rituals? Share with us. Also, like and subscribe to know more about history. See you next time.